So this is basically my journey being very different than some other people have gone through and have done their faceting career. So let me see if I can make this work here. Ooh, cool slides. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I was young once.
That's your son, right?
That looks like Sarah with a mustache.
This picture is somewhere probably early 90s, so I'm probably in my early 30s when I first started this. It all started because I met Linda, and Linda had two parents that were very much involved with this club. And my first words were, you run off and do your rock thing, I'm going to stay at home. I don't really want anything to do with that. The next thing I know is I'm coming to meetings and I am going to shows.
And then you became treasurer.
And then I became treasurer. And I met this gentleman here. This was Jerry Hess. Jerry introduced all of us to faceting. And when I showed up at the Villa Italia show, and years kind of escaped me, I think it was 1988, if I'm not mistaken. I went to Villa and I saw him cutting, and I said, I want to learn how to do that. And I made the mistake of telling that to Luke. Luke, in turn, actually, let's see, this was probably January, February. That November of '89, I got a phone call. And it was Luke saying that Jerry, who had no idea who I was getting rid of his old machine and he was getting a new one. So why don't you go over to his house and he'll give you the machine, you'll make payments on it because I didn't have a dime to my name. And he will give you a little bit of a lesson. And I said, great. I pulled this off the Prismatic website. This is pretty close to the first machine that I had. No gauges, no dials, and this is what I started with. So, I ran over to Denzel's shop. He had a beginner faceters book, cost $3 that I got, and Luke came to me, and I wished I couldn't find him in my shop. I must have gotten rid of him. I had a little tiny thing of what were called anthill pyrope garnets. And they weren't, I don't have anything that small even to compare them to. But I took one of those, I glued it onto my stick, I ground that thing into dust, and I thought this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I then put another stone on and got it to a certain point. Did that 7 times until I finally finished my first stone. And if you read in the beginner's handbook, you should be able to finish by your 3rd stone. So I was already behind the 8 ball on that. Then this happened. The January show, 1990, at Lakeside Mall happened, and the photographer for the local newspaper showed up, threw my face on the front page and mentioned Jerry back in about page 15. He's the one that had been cutting for 30 years. He and I laughed about this until he passed in 1999. We always referred back to this. That was some kind of fun. By the way, guys, same headgear, so that's why I'm wearing this. So, about 6 months passed, and I was deciding I really wanted to do this, but I was having trouble making that prismatic work for me. So, a lot of you guys know Larry, the guy here in the middle. He was the Ultratech dealer at the time, and I joined a group called the American Society of Gem Cutters, and in the back was an advertisement for a new machine. I'm sorry, for a used machine. And there it is. I still have this machine. It was made in 1977. When you call Ultratech, give them the serial number, they can tell you what year it was made. A couple years later, Luke ended up purchasing another Ultratech machine from 1972, turned around, sold it to me, and no, he did not sell it to me at the same price, so he made a little bit on it. I turned that machine around. I bought a couple of different pieces, parts. There were some modifications that we were able to do to it, and this machine has gone through several incarnations, including the fact this one here has got the gauge. I later put an LED on it, which saved me tons of time and effort. And there's me at the show. So that was probably September a couple of years ago. I just thought I'd go through, fun to go through and just show you guys some pictures going way back. And that was this year. I think this is why we all do the shows, because we get to get in front of people and to watch their eyes light up. And number one, the kids have no filter, so it's, what are you doing? And the second question is that a diamond? It doesn't matter what color the stone is on there, is everybody thinks that's a diamond that I'm working on. And by the way, for the record, able to cut everything but diamond. So these machines will not turn fast enough. Margie knows when to come take good pictures when there's kids around. It's great. And of course, families involved. So, I told Sarah I was putting an embarrassing picture of her up. And this, guys, is Chris when he was 15. And so for a couple of years, he sat next to me and he cut a couple of stones. And this is the machine from 1972. I'm working on the 77 machine. The gal from, or the editor rather, from Rock and Gem came running up one day, very excited. Look at that, there's a 15-year-old that's cutting gemstones. Can I put him in the magazine? Sure, I said. So, January 2009, we've got a full page here on Chris. The editor is always looking for some unique things that kids are doing every month. So if you guys, I know with the new kids group, if you guys want to reach out to her, have some pictures, write an article. They love posting that stuff. She's always looking for stuff to do. So I took some pictures. We put it all in there. You guys will be able to come up and see that. And Chris is having a wonderful time. And of course, more family. I sent a note to Katie this week. I said, okay, I'll go ahead and put this picture in there. These were some of our dealers about 4 or 5 years ago. Dave and Lynn are actually now doing the September show. That's the only one in Colorado they're doing now, but they do have a shop up in Frisco. For some of you, that should look pretty familiar.
He came and visited us for a week in October.
Great. Actually, I think I did hear about that. Now, guys, I want to move into concave. This was the first machine that I had. It's made by Prismatic. And at the time I bought it, about 8 or 9 years ago, it was the only machine out on the market. Ultratech had not come out with their unit yet. I can tell you right now, looking at this, I put it together wrong. So, 8 years ago, YouTube wasn't around that much and nobody had done videos on this. There are videos now on how to put this thing together and how to run it. The manufacturers are great at making these machines. They'll sell them to you, and then when you ask questions they go, there you go, you're on your own, you got to figure it out. So, this machine sitting in my closet, it's going to go away someday. And then they just buy you a plate so that it'll take whatever mast that you have. Since I have Ultratech, I'm able to adapt it to that there. I did cut 2 stones on this one here, and then I just kind of gave up and decided I wanted to go a different direction. So this is the new Ultratech machine, and it works different in several different ways. First of all, this is the motor, and not only does it spin, but it also moves back and forth. So as we facet, as we cut and polish, we always have the mast, and we move it back and forth so that we don't wear out the wheel in a certain place. We're also keeping it from scratching by moving it back and forth. This machine here, since I don't have that action, will actually do that for me. So, this is the mast, or the head. The stone will fit on right there. This is removable, so what I will do is I will take this over to my big machine, my first machine, I will cut all my flat facets. Once that is done, and I've got them lined up, then I come over here and the fun begins. And these are some of the tools that we use. So, copper, and I have to learn how to charge them with diamond, and this is a new technique that I had never done before. So I'm trying to learn how to do that. This unit here we actually use for polishing. Don't ask me why, but this is first of all, it's a different manufacturer. This is all lightning lap. They only make this in a 13 millimeter. That's it. I can't get it in any other size, and yet I have multiple of other sizes that are out there. So where we're at now and where we're going to be in 5 years should be different. Some of the manufacturers should start coming out with some of this stuff. Part of it is there aren't a whole lot of us doing this just yet. Maybe down the road, as more people start doing it, manufacturers will start making more of that. And then this guy here is about a 4 millimeter. Some other tools. So we got ball burrs here, and there's a copper one, so again we can charge it. Again, one of the mandrels, and then this one here is really cool. This is a slicing tool. I absolutely love it, and guys, I've never used mine yet. That is going to be my project this winter, is to break that bad boy out and to start doing some stuff with this. Wait till you see what some of the stones look like, just using that tool and somebody who knows what they're doing. This is my big stone, and I did show this last January. So here it is. Pretty good size. About 19 millimeters on this one here. This is a green amethyst, so they take poorly colored amethyst, they irradiate it, they turn it green. I bought this piece in Denver probably 6-7 years ago. Finally decided I would do something with it. So I got a design, and this is what I came out with. And by the way, I apologize for my photography because it was horrible, although I tried to learn, and I'm still working on that. A couple other stones, I showed these. Let me see. I showed these in September at the case next to me. I don't think I had these done before that. Probably my best stone is the one there to the right, the ametrine, the new ametrine I just got. Yep. And this is that slicing tool, hard at work. I'm not even quite sure what he's doing with it at this point. So, this is my first time getting to show the machine really what its capabilities are. You guys can see this guy here is not turned straight. I've got him turned at 45 degrees. It's what the directions are asking for. There's my copper. I am lubricating it, and you guys see me spraying it fairly frequently. The idea is to keep it nice and wet. As soon as it dries out, all kinds of bad things happen. So, that is alcohol. I've also got some extender. I've got a couple of other things. I'm just kind of playing and trying to see what I can get.
What are you cutting?
To cut. That is a smoky quartz, and I've actually got that piece here tonight. So come take a look at this. I've got the grooves done. I've got it mostly polished. There's a few spots that I've got a few scratches in it right now. So as soon as I can finish some of my other projects, I'm going to come back to this and see if I can get some of those out.
So is that copper?
So that is copper.
And don't you have to change it when you change the grit size?
I do, and that's actually, Fred, that's actually a very interesting point. So what I'm learning about this is when I did regular flat faceting, I would sometimes start at 125. Then I would go to 400, then I would go to 600, then I would go to 1200 or 3000, then I would polish. With this one here,
So this machine is totally different than a lap.
totally different than a lap. And to answer Fred's question, I'm thinking I've got to go through the same process. What these guys are doing is they are cutting at 600. It's a lot slower. To cut a concave takes about 4 times longer, and then they're going from 600 to polish. So they're going through 2 steps to get all of this done. It's just how it's being done right now. So I'm still trying to learn that because I bought a whole bunch of laps, I bought a whole bunch of grits, and I'm finding that to use the 325 and then to go to the 600, it's actually twice as much work. The 600 will actually cut it pretty quick. The number one thing, Jerry, when he cut, he used to push pretty hard. I have to take my hands off and just let this thing do its own thing. I cannot push on it.
It's totally different how it moves back and forth.
It's very different how it goes back and forth, and then what you'll do is you'll just watch it go down. So, but I'm still doing the same thing. I'm either cutting to the culet or I'm cutting to the girdle. And those are usually the marks that I'm aiming for. The good news is it doesn't have to be exactly right. So when you guys come see this here, I've got one facet like this and the other one's down like this because I've got a concave coming through it. And guess what? In concave world, that's acceptable. This is where the journey really began for me last February. I went to Tucson. I was so excited to be there to see 3 days of talking nothing but gemstones. I was absolutely thrilled to death. Most of you know for a living I work in medicine, I teach anesthesia. It was so nice to actually go to a 3-day conference and not have to talk about medicine for a change. So this was going to be fun for me. And as you can see, I'm absolutely thrilled to be listening to Victor at the moment. I tried, but I could not find some of Victor's gemstones. If you guys have met him, he's Russian. His English is not that good, but he will take a gemstone, let's say this size, and I've probably got 100 facets on this one here. He can put 450 facets on this. And he has got some techniques for doing that. So without even putting concave on there, what his stones do, absolutely amazing stuff. While I was there, I got a chance to share my whole, by the way, I got my machine in January. This thing is in February, so I actually had a little bit of skill and able to talk a little bit about how all of this works. So I just happened to meet this father-daughter who got a chance to talk about some of this. This gentleman is Robert Strickland. Something else that I knew about but had absolutely zero experience is he is a brilliant mathematician and he created GemCAD. So there is a computer-aided CAD program just for gemstones, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that down the road here. But I want you guys to meet him real quick. I got a chance to sit through a class with him. I only understood about every 4th word, but I was actually able to create a gemstone on the computer. This gentleman here, Robert Mendoza, I've been working with him a lot. He is actually the head guy at Ultratech, and I've got some more pictures of him. And those are some of the dealers that were in Tucson. They sold, I'm told, 8 machines at the Tucson show. They had a really good show. In my job, I get on an airplane and I travel every week. A friend of mine called out of California and said, can you cover for me for a week? I need to be on vacation. I said, sure. It was in Orange County. Ultratech was about an hour away, and so when I got out of the hospital early one day, called up Robert and said, I want to come down and see the plant, see what you guys do. Pretty small operation, about 20 people. This is what the building looks like. It's an industrial area, but this looks like a house. And it's got a front door. But wait till you see what's on the inside. My camera decided to break, so Robert got this picture of us real quick in front of one of the machines. And then I wanted to show you guys what this machine does. This machine makes all of the parts for the machines. 90% of their parts are made at this plant, and this is actually the plate that is on my standard machine right now. And I got to sit and watch these things cut a little bit. So, you take the plate, you put it all inside here, there's the drill bits, you set it all up on the computer that you see them over at. The worker puts the pre-made plate in there, pushes a button, closes the doors because it throws a combination of oil and water, and it drills everything else out. Probably takes 4 or 5 minutes. One of the most fascinating things I've ever seen.
How old is the worker?
The workers,
The guy in the blue t-shirt.
you know what, those are just visitors, those aren't even
Okay,
the
I thought,
workers.
holy schmoly,
So,
he's 15.
Yeah, so I met some of the workers there. They're all local guys, most of them Hispanic guys that have been there absolutely forever. 20, 30 some plus odd years. Really nice guys. These machines, by the way, put off a really odd smell because of the heat that it generates with the water and the oil. I can't even really describe it. But there's a whole bunch of machines all finished up, ready to go. I found out that Ultratech not only does faceting machines, they also do polishers for fiber optic cable. They also do them for computer chips and for wafers. And so those units are completely automated and cost about 25, 30 grand a piece and are about the size of this. So they have a couple of things going on as well. The gentleman who started the company, he's now in his 80s. I'm told that he works from home on his computer all day. He doesn't even come in to the shop anymore. But Joe's actually the guy that got me involved. Oh, by the way, the reason I'm in with Ultratech right now was because of this article. I suddenly got a phone call 6 months later from Joe saying, Ron, I don't know what happened to my Colorado Ultratech dealer, but he's gone. Would you like to do that? What's involved? You don't have to sell anything, just talk to people when they have questions, maybe do some teaching if you want, it's really up to you. And so that's what I've done. I've sold 4 or 5 machines, and I've done some fascinating lessons as a result of that. Might recognize Brian.
Yeah.
So I know Brian was here doing a talk a little bit ago. And Brian came to my booth in September. He must have been there 6 times. So I'm doing some stones for him right now. Some of the new things I learned in Tucson. I call them lip balm. These are polishes. Right here. So you see I've pretty much have gone through this one right here. Dab a little bit on my finger. I do wear gloves. You guys probably saw how messy it is. The unit does throw oil or whatever is on the wheel quite frequently, so I've got those. And if you don't want to use that, you can use the syringes as well. And when I called to order, he talked me into syringes, so I haven't even opened them yet, but I'm going to be trying those. While at the meeting in Tucson, everybody had suggestions of what I should have on my bench. Ron, you need a new polish. There's tons of cerium oxides out there, but you need to go to this guy, this manufacturer, and use this one here, which is exactly what I did. So, I've changed cerium oxide. I also went out and I bought a ton of all of this stuff here. I've got points and stuff that I haven't even tried out yet. So, I'm ready to start experimenting. Some of the other resources that are out there, there's a couple of new books, and there's actually tons of books out there. The other thing that I found, and I think I got this slide on here, yes, is there's a website called Gemology Online. And when you go on there, there's something here called the Gemology Project. So we're sitting around, there's something called a hobnob. I think it's on Saturday night. And it's a chance for everybody to meet. Some rough dealers come in. But I was introduced to a bunch of different people. And this one couple that I was talking to said, have you seen this website? Have you seen the Gemology Project? Do you know what it's about? No idea. when you click on this, and sorry I couldn't get a picture made up in time, you click on that icon there, and what you get are a whole bunch of little pictures of a finished gemstone. What you do with that is you click on the gemstone and it gives you the directions for hundreds and hundreds of different designs and different ideas for cutting these stones. And then I was told, have you met so-and-so? The young gentleman, he's in med school, he's in his early 20s, and he absolutely loves making things up and putting them on this site. And then he puts really funny little notes on there. I was looking 6 months ago, there was a design that had over 200 facets on it. I clicked on it, and in his little blurb he said, I'm supposed to be studying organic chem, but I wanted to do this instead. So he would rather design gemstones on GemCAD than do his studies. So, nice kid, very smart. So for those of you that haven't seen, and sorry I got to kind of cut off, this is the directions on how to cut the stone, giving me the angle and then all of the numbers here. But this is new, telling me how to do concave. So this is actually the Zenobia, this is actually the green stone that I have right here. So it tells me concave at 40 degrees and then use these and then what to watch out for. 8 years ago, none of this existed. So this is, let me see, so he's got pavilion, so he's got the bottom of the stone right here, and you guys see that he cuts it off right here, and then the crown all finished there, and this is what this amazing stone looks like. That is looking at it from the top. So, by taking that culet off, he's put this on here, and then he took his slicing unit and he put all of those in there. So he actually has all of these directions. Haven't tried this yet, can't wait. Winter project. And then another picture of it. That's what it looks like just flipping the stone around. So see, he just put the slices in. All he did was probably use a ball burr, didn't polish it, and that's the effect that he got.
So Ron, when you're using the ball burrs, do you use that on the machine or do you use that separate on a Dremel?
On the machine. So the nice thing is with the machine is that you can get it all nice and lined up. So I'm doing it the same way that I'm doing my flat facets, in that I'm marking it with a marking pen, and then I'm finding exactly where I want it. The good news is with this machine is I've got some up and down, and I've got some left and right so that I can find dead center on that. Cut a little test, and if I don't like it, I can move it around. And that's what some of these guys, and wait till you see some of the designs that some of these guys have done. I've been doing this for years. This is the culet of the big stone that I'm trying to do right there. This one just came out about a month and a half ago. That's what it looks like from the top, and I know photography isn't that great. These stones look much, much better in person. This is Dalen Hargrave, and I'm so excited because he lives in San Antonio. Guess where my assignment is next week? I'm going to San Antonio on Sunday. And yes, I'm going to play golf. But I also called him, I can't believe it. I actually reached him on his home phone, the only number that I had. I briefly met him in January. He is a true pioneer in what he does. I get to go to his house and see his shop next week. And maybe in December when I go back there as well. So, this is what Dalen does. This is a holy crap moment for me when I first saw this picture. This is absolutely unbelievable. So he's concaved all the edges. He's done all of this slicing. He's put a ball burr in the middle. He's polished it all up. That is where I want to end up someday. That thing absolutely, and so I've got 20 questions about how he did this on here. The good news is, when he did his lecture, he's more than willing to talk about technique. He doesn't want you copying his designs, and I totally understand that. But I would certainly like to learn some of his technique. So we're just going to go through a bunch of Dalen stones here. And I don't really know how he does some of this stuff. It just keeps going. So I called him, when I talked to him on Wednesday, it's like, do you mind if I throw your slides up? He's like, all of this is on the Ultratech website. He posts on there all the time. This technique is one that I'm hoping to learn soon. So what he's done is he's done a ball burr, and then he's polished the inside of it, which I'm still not exactly sure. I think he's using felt to do that. And then he's taking another ball burr, and he's putting another circle in there. So he's got like a circle within a circle, so that it just makes this nice little ring right here. And he uses that technique in a lot of these stones.
So does he, these turned into jewelry or just
These are,
specimens?
yeah, it's just like when people ask me, what do I do with my stones? I got a nice big collection of them. Yeah. Are they going to be turned into jewelry? I don't really know if he has the marketing. I don't know if any of us really have the marketing to sell some of this, unless you want to go online, and there's always chances with that. Kind of looks like the moon over here that he came up with. And he's used that design on a couple of these. I call this the blob. I just threw this on there this afternoon. I love this with all the circles. Hello, sorry. There we go. Sorry, the puzzle pieces are a little fuzzy, but there's a better one in here coming up.
Ron,
Yeah.
how big are those pieces?
You know what? Actually, I'm not exactly sure, but let me show you one. And I do know exactly how big it is because I got to hold it in my hand. This one here looks like kind of a moonscape, and then he glued that in like Bob does. He loves a Texas star. He's got a bunch of those. This one's pretty funky. I like the shadow on the bottom. Now, if I'm not mistaken, when I read this, this is actually the same stone. So, a customer came to him and said, this is what I've got, can you jazz it up? And so he put all of this in it over here. And then it went back to whatever piece of jewelry I'm sure it came from. He just posted that one not that long ago. This piece here is the one that I got to actually hold, and it is about that big by that. It is pretty good size.
Do they go on facet, how many faceted cuts it is, or is it a different language now?
It's, you know, that's a great, I don't even think we go there
So that's just like
as far as, I mean, in other words, there's no descriptions for any of this stuff. He
Okay.
just throws it up there and goes, ooh, ah, do you like this? Honestly, guys, this piece is so big, I don't even think you could wear it as jewelry. I mean, it is, I mean, it's about that size there. It weighs quite a bit, so.
A chain.
And what I didn't ask him, and I wished I'd asked him what kind of material that was. Could be synthetic, especially if it's CZ, that thing's gonna be really, really heavy. Look at this, guys. He's got Saturn, he's got the moon up here. I don't know what he's doing all up in here, but this nice little moonscape. Very imaginative. I absolutely love this thing. This is blue topaz. At least he put down, and he even put down the weight on this one. So, Fred, that's probably all he does, is just put down the weight of what it is.
Or does he get a time, how much time is he putting into it?
That I'm gonna find out.
Okay, 'cause I
That's one of my questions for him.
don't know how to
He,
do that.
you know, when I talked to him, I said, yeah, I have to travel 800 miles every week for me to work. He said, yeah, I walk 50 yards out to the garage. So, and I've seen pictures inside the garage. He's got quite a setup. He offers classes for some people to come in and spend a week or two doing some of this. So I know he did concave here, and I think he just did slicing at different degrees to get that one there to come through.
You said you know what the weight of that one was?
I did. It's in, yeah, I 30 or 40 carats is what I think is all it was, so it's not, that one's not really super big. But the really cool thing is you put a couple of slices in here, and the light guys just goes through this like crazy. So when you look at the back, you go, it's kind of nice. There may only be 5 or 6 for each half there, and that's what the light does to it. This one here, guys, is an optical illusion. What he's done is he's turned all the facets in, just like I normally would. Cut the culet off on the back. Guys, he put that dimple right there, polished it, and it shows through all the different sides. So all of this is not actual work. More. This is Larry Matos. He is out of California, and as I sadly found out, he lives about 30 minutes outside of Oakland, which is where I was working 3 weeks ago. And then when he called me, he saw my note on Facebook, because I posted a picture of the Bay Bridge, and he said, "Why didn't you call? I'm 20 minutes from you." So I just ended up missing Larry and get a chance to see his shop. But he has put out a video on how to do some of the techniques for this, and then he's also putting out all of these directions. And so every time he puts out a stone, I send him a note and say, when do I get to see the directions?
I want to look up the video. How do you spell his name?
It's under Aston, A-S-T-O-N, Gems. I was supposed to bring the video. If you talk to him, please tell him I did. So I don't get into trouble with him. I don't know if I put it in there. I've got a picture of his video, but if you go under Aston Gems and you look at his website, it's right there. It's $20. It was dirt cheap for me. The only bad news is, and I talked to him about this, is the production is really low grade, is the best way to describe it. He is having to run the camera and do the talking at the same time. He said he tried doing it under a camera guy, but the camera guy didn't know what he was doing, so he couldn't follow him. So Larry will talk, and then you'll see the camera go right down to the work that he's doing. So I actually got some ideas for technique. When he's doing the bulber, you could have the stone here, and you could drill it in this way. That's not how he does it. You can actually turn the entire, you can actually pick the motor up on this machine right here and turn it 45 degrees, and then he comes at it from the angle. So, from the side, and then he's able to polish it that way as well. And that way, you don't get as much spin, if that makes any sense.
I have an impertinent question.
Please.
Just as a general idea, what's the price range of the machine?
The price range of that machine is about, I'm so glad you asked.
It's a show special.
I did bring it. I think it's on here.
Read the slide, Ron.
I know. Is it on the slide?
Yeah,
Show
3,000.
Oh, there it is. That was the show. Yeah, it's about $3,500. It's something
What's the
somewhere in
club
that.
discount?
What's that?
Club.
I know. I wish there were club discounts.
You're in charge.
So I do have a funny story on that. There are about 50 dealers out there, and there was a guy out of Florida, and he was being a nightmarish pain in the butt. kept trying to talk that dealer down, and the rules are very specific for us. We cannot offer any discounts, no exceptions. So he sends out a blast email to all of us and says, okay, what's your best price, blah, blah, blah. And I'd heard about this guy, called the office, and they said, yeah, he's being a nightmare. So I sent him an email back because I was in a snarky mood that day, and I said, do me a favor, don't get a faceting machine. There's enough out there doing this business right now. And I've met a couple of them. There are some, don't ask me why, I absolutely love this. There are people that are absolutely miserable every day doing this stuff. Why are you still doing this? Go find something that makes you happy if this isn't it. One of them was a gentleman by the name of Jeff Graham who did a bunch of design stuff. I had a half-hour conversation with him at a previous hobnob, and I really wanted to go poke my ears out when it was done because he was just the most negative person I'd ever met. I bought 2 of his books, and he, on the phone, berated me and made sure that I wasn't going to make copies for all my friends. So, it's like, give me a break.
Shed some light on it.
These are some of Larry's stones and some of his designs that he's doing right now. So I just wanted to kind of run you through here. And see, he just takes slices and he just does them randomly. He does them all on the pavilion of the stone. You see them all there, and then they all come through in different patterns. Some very unique stuff. And then I just threw some of these stones up. These are just regular faceted stones. That one there too, I just love the design on that. Guys, I think a lot of these are synthetics. Does this look familiar to anybody? Anybody know the story on this?
Yeah, isn't that Rich Fredericks?
Yes. This was the topaz that was found in Colorado that was cut last year on an Ultratech. So of course Ultratech's going to use all of that 1,300 carat stone. It's a monster.
He's doing a presentation tomorrow in the Lake George meeting.
Really?
Yep,
Riches,
Is he bringing this thing?
I think so.
he carries it around with seriously.
Afraid it is.
Well, tell him I gave him a nod. So
Will do.
very, very impressed by that stone. There was even talk of it going into the museum here, which I don't think, I didn't see it in there, so I don't think it went in. So, thanks Margie for the great picture. And that is my presentation, guys. Thanks. If you have a bunch of stuff up here, we can talk a little bit more detail on some of this.